The days within the village of Von Hellion are filled with the bustling inner workings of everyday life. But when night falls, the mysteries buried within are set free. The moon illuminates over the village as an unsuspecting auburn-haired young lad, somewhere in his 20s, goes on a night stroll on his way to the local country club. He walks along the path, passing through the woods, but as he does, he spots someone sharply dressed, a young woman leaning against a tree.
"Evening, friend,"
she says, tipping her red top hat to him. "Evening, ma'am." The young man continues on his way. He passes another tree and finds the same woman.
"Nice night for a stroll, eh?"
The young man becomes confused for a moment, but keeps walking, until he passes yet another tree and sees the woman, this time sitting down.
"What's the matter? Can't got your tongue? Or does the sight of a lady frighten you?"
This forces the young lad to stop and turn around, only to find that the woman has disappeared. What the hell kind of stuff is this? The man thinks to himself. In that moment, he is startled by a finger tapping his shoulders. The woman appears in front of him, smiling confidently. She takes off her hat and bows.
"Nice to meet you, stranger."
Upon closer inspection, we find that the woman bears painted symbols on her cheeks. The ace of clubs, befitting for her outfit. To which the young lad is reminded of the dealers at the country club.
"Allow me to introduce myself. Clover Lestrange at your service. Could I interest you in a friendly little game?"
I was actually on my way to the club right now. The man responds, looking to the side nervously. Maybe some other time. And he immediately begins walking again.
Hey, I didn't even get your name."
Clover shouts.
"At least introduce yourself before you dine and dash."
The man turns around. It's Kaleb.
"Kaleb? With a K or with a C?"
K. With that, Clover nods and snaps her fingers. In an instant, Kaleb finds himself in a strange place. The room is small, with a circular table with 2 comfortable chairs. The floor patterns are that of the 4 suits: spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs. Kaleb looks around the room and sees a blinking neon sign that reads, Emporium de Lestrange. Games of chance, charms, and keeper of secrets. Clover sits down and pushes out a seat for Kaleb. He looks at her suspiciously. What is this place?
"Didn't you see the sign? This is my shop. Now come here, take a load off,"
she says, waving her hand. In an instant, a force begins pulling Kaleb towards the chair and sits him down. Clover takes off her top hat and begins to rifle through it. Slowly, she pulls out some bottles of liquor with some glasses.
"Do you prefer something smooth like whiskey, or are you more of a bourbon fella?"
Hold on a minute, Kaleb says. You haven't explained where I am or why I'm here. Are we even in the village anymore? Or where did all that stuff come from? Clover rolls her eyes.
"You ask too many questions, but I guess I should explain myself."
She begins to pour a drink for herself. She takes a sip and begins to speak.
"Simply put, I am a helper of sorts. A friend to those down in the dumps. You know, a sour run through fortune's groove."
You mean people with bad luck?
"Exactly, like you."
Clover pokes Caleb's nose.
"I know what you're thinking. How does she know? Simple, my boy. I always know."
The young lad raises an eyebrow in surprise. It's then that the gentlewoman pulls out a few photographs and puts them before Kaleb. His eyes widen. They're all photos of him. In each one, they show Kaleb taking the same walk like he did tonight to the country club, looking as confident as ever. But the moment he sets foot in the club, it's like he watches his money fly away into the abyss. The slots, pool, poker, or even a simple game of chess, nothing. He can't just win. Still, every night he tells himself, tonight will be different. Tonight will be different.
"Tonight will be different, huh? You are right, my friend."
Clover says, interrupting Caleb's thoughts.
"Tonight will be different, because I will give you a chance to end your losing streak."
Kaleb looks skeptical at the woman. What's the catch?
"Simple.
Clover snaps her fingers and suddenly 4 cards appear on the table before them.
Play a little game with me."
Kaleb looks at the cards on the table. The first one shows a loving couple holding each other in a passionate embrace. The second one shows a man holding a chalice full of wine, surrounded by treasures. The third one shows a maiden holding a shield and a flag, leading an army to victory. And the last one shows a woman in a black dress pointing suggestively while holding a scythe in her hand.
Love, pleasure, freedom, or death, the four fates of mortals.
Clover slides a drink over to Kaleb. The rules are simple. The cards will be flipped face down, then shuffled. The player must choose one of the cards on the table, and which card is chosen will decide the path of fate that will be taken. Kaleb takes a sip of his drink. How does this help me improve my chances of winning me some dough?
The fates work in mysterious ways. Think of these four paths as possible solutions to your problem. In other words, what I can guarantee is this.
Clover leans in, showing her golden eyes.
Whichever card you choose will ensure you will never have another run of misfortune ever again.
Kaleb could not believe what he was hearing. Could it be too good to be true? Then again, all of this was too good to be true. One minute he was walking to his favorite gambling hall. Next, he meets this mysterious lady who drags him into a red room of sorts to play a weird game of 3-card Monte. One thing's for sure, he wanted his losing streak to end, and fast. If there is a chance, even a sliver of a chance, it would be worth taking. Finally, Kaleb looks towards Clover, resting her head on her folded hands. Okay, I'll do it. Clover smirks.
Wonderful. Now, one last thing as a show of good faith.
From behind her back, the woman presents Kaleb with a contract, detailing the rules of the games and the conditions she stated earlier. She hands the young man a pen.
Just sign on the dotted line, and our game will begin.
With that, Kaleb looks down at the document and immediately signs his name. Afterwards, the contract magically rolls up, tied with a little ribbon, and ends up inside Clover's hat, which she quickly puts back on her head. The cards are flipped face down, showing only a kaleidoscope diamond pattern. Clover shuffles them a few times, then a few more times, and then a couple more times, until she stops. Clover's eyes glow as she looks at Kaleb with a smirking expression.
Go ahead. Pick a card. Any card.
Kaleb looks down at the 4 cards. He tells himself, no matter what I choose, my run of bad luck will end tonight. I just have to believe. With that, Kaleb closes his eyes and reaches his hands out and chooses a card. Bringing it up to his face, he slowly opens his eyes. Moments later, Kaleb is seen at the country club scrap table. For the first time, he's on a roll. Not a single bad roll all night, and people are cheering him on. Shaking up the red dice in his hands, Kaleb says confidently, "Come on, baby, let's get that final 7. The room fades in a hushed silence as Kaleb lets go of the dice. They roll and roll and roll until they stop, and the number is revealed. A perfect 7? The entire place goes into an uproar of applause. For the first time, Kaleb is on top of the world with the brightest smile on his face. Yes, tonight was different. The losing streak had ended. No more misfortune for Kaleb. No more. A day later, at a local cafe, the television flashes with a breaking news report. A man in his early 20s was found dead in an alleyway not far from the country club. His wallet was gone, but authorities were able to identify him thanks to the regulars at the club. He has been identified as Kaleb Kolbash, a local resident that frequents the club almost every week. The bartender at the club said that the young man had finally been on a good streak of fortune before his untimely death. As the TV plays, a waitress walks over to the table outside of the cafe. "Here's your whiskey, tea, biscuits, and jam."
Ah, thank you.
The person is revealed to be Clover. She tips her hat to the waitress and winks, causing her to giggle and walk away. Looking over at the TV, the woman with an ace of clubs painted on her cheeks takes a sip of the tea and smiles.
Well, I did tell him that the fates could guarantee that he would never have to worry about his misfortune ever again.
Clover stops to take a biscuit. She grabs her knife and applies the jam on it to take a bite.
But I never said how. When it comes to endings, the details are inconsequential.